item on the agenda, I will need to recuse myself because I am within 500
Are we going
feet.
back to the tree removal now? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Close the public section.
So, do we have to go get Kyrie out of timeout?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where. Oh, there she is.
Yeah. Commissioner Tan,
Not true.
we changed the agenda, so this is the Ocean Street
They live there.
item. So you can.
Oh, Carrie's trying.
We moved Ocean Street ahead of the Escuela.
Okay. So as a bit of a background, the council approved demolition of an existing residence and construction of 2 detached residences in April of 2007 on Ocean Avenue. The approval then got extended till April 2011, and the applicant then filed a building permit application in January of 2011. The building permit was approved and ready to be issued, but expired on July 18th, 2012. The applicant let the building permit expire because he's experiencing some problems with the title issues on the property. However, he does intend to apply for a new building permit as soon as the title issues are resolved, and that's why we are continuing with this item of tree removal, which was, by the way, he submitted before the building permit expired. So this is their site plan. There are 2 units. One fronts Ocean Avenue and the other one fronts Peabody Lane. And the tree in question is the one in red that is to be removed. It's a 9-inch Raymond ash tree. And the reason it needs to be removed is because it is directly in front of the proposed driveway, which is right here. There is another tree further down, and that tree will remain. The UFO, the Urban Forestry Ordinance, requires that any tree removal application be considered by the Commission. This requirement was passed in April of 2010 after this project was approved, and therefore the tree removal at that time was not included. The UFO requires the planting of replacement trees of equal or cumulative diameter to the trees to be removed. The ordinance also says that when replacement tree cannot match the diameter of the tree to be removed due to site conditions, the Commission must require that the replacement planting of several trees of equal diameter to the tree being removed be placed. This tree, as I mentioned, is a 9-inch diameter, and if you replant a 24-box tree, that's about 1.7 inches in diameter, so you need to plant 5 replacement trees. However, there are no empty tree wells on Ocean Avenue, and therefore staff is recommending that the applicant replace 5 trees in other parts of the city at locations to be determined by the Public Works Department. In addition to the replacement of the trees, the applicant must also pay the assessed value of the tree to be removed. The applicant's arborist provided a report which determined the value to be $340. This was found to be acceptable by our city arborists. So staff is recommending approval for the tree removal subject to installation of 5 24-inch box trees in tree wells in other parts of the city that will be determined by the Department of Public Works, paid the replacement value fee of $340, and that the encroachment permit for the tree removal not be issued prior to the issuance of building permit for the 2 new residential units. This is to ensure that the tree is not removed before the actual building permit or the work will begin. So that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
When you say install the box trees and empty tree wells in other parts of the city, is that including with renovated soil or structural soil
Yes.
or any of that?
Yes.
So that whole planting regimen would have to be paid for by the
Correct.
applicant?
Correct. So if you look at your resolution, the last page, let's see. The first one, actually. The first condition says the tree species and soil conditions under which the trees are to be installed will be determined by the city arborist. So depending on the species, the soil conditions vary in terms of total volume of soil.
Okay, there was in one part of the report, the arborist recommended replacing the tree in front of the unit, and if they're going to be redoing the driveway, I don't know that there's a reason that they shouldn't be able to put a tree in front.
There won't be any place. That was a miscalculation. If you have the driveway that there and the existing tree wells on the other side, there won't be enough spacing to add another tree.
It looks like there's over 6 feet.
6 feet between.
Looks like there's 6 feet between the driveway flare and the property line. Not over 6 feet, but 6 feet.
How come my packet doesn't have
Well, the city arborist is here. We can talk. We can ask her.
Sure. Oh, she's not. Yeah. Yes? Hi.
Can you repeat the question?
When I looked at the site and looked at the site plan, it appears that there's enough space to put a tree well just to the west of the new driveway, that there's 6 feet to the property line. And it appeared that the next tree down the street was kind of far away, and it would be a nice spacing if there was a tree there.
Okay. I mean, I'm not very good looking at these plans. I mean, you just have to supply enough soil volume for that tree to actually grow. So, I mean.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. You just would have to supply enough soil volume for that tree to actually grow. There's no point in planting a tree if you can't supply the tree at least 600 cubic feet of rootable soil for healthy root growth. Okay, so existing.
Well, we could maybe calculate it, because it's a 6x4 space.
Okay,
So that's
6 by
24
4.
square feet.
Okay, that's 24 square feet, and we're talking about 600 square feet for a small tree, a small stature tree. If we talk about large trees, we're talking about in excess of 2,000 cubic feet of rootable soil, and I do understand that those calculations are hard. We usually don't get those, but we just want to give the tree as much as possible. So if we're only giving the tree 24 cubic feet of rootable soil, probably.
Well, 24, that's 24 square feet, so I don't know, we don't know the third dimension, which is the depth,
Yeah, so
right?
it would be like, times 3, probably down to 3 feet. So, so that's like, 24 times 3.
72?
Yeah. So that's. I mean, it's not the best. It's not the best spot. But if you use structural soil under the pavement, and you can absolutely gain soil volume by doing that.
And aren't most of the existing tree wells in the city similarly small dimension, and you'd have to do the excavation anyway?
Yeah, and that's why we say, like, I mean, that's why we have so many problems.
Right.
And we're saying we don't want to plant trees like that anymore. So when we do plant a tree in the ground, we want to make sure that those roots are not going to lift up the pavement in the future. So if you want to put, like, prepare a whole huge space with structural soil and get, drain rock underneath the pavement and everything, then that would be wonderful. So it's just about how much soil you're going to give the tree. Did I answer that question?
Thank you.
I have a few questions. I'm curious what is it in the, is there something in the zoning code that required the city council to approve the demolition in the first place of the house that was there?
Yes, we have an ordinance where if you're removing a single family residence, you cannot demolish a single family residence unless you have a replacement, unless you have a use permit for replacement structures. So this house is still there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I get it. So that was on appeal to the city council? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it was originally approved by the city council, the project, because the demolition of the existing residential building required city council approval.
I see.
Therefore, the whole project required city council approval.
Okay.
And again,
and
the demolition can't occur until they've actually received a building permit for the replacement structure.
Okay. And then, so we just heard from the city arborist, and then, so I'm curious, who was the arborist that repaired the report? That was a different person? And that,
Yeah, the arborist report that's attached to the staff report is the applicant's arborist, and that report was peer-reviewed by the city arborist.
okay, so that is the procedure that's established in the, what is it, the urban forestry ordinance?
That is not
Or-
the you mean the peer review?
Yes.
The peer review is not yet a part of the UFO. We wanted to make sure that the assessed value that the applicant's arborist was suggesting was accurate. So so I just basically asked Molly to make sure that $340 was accurate amount.
So I'm not understanding. So what's the procedure as far as the assessment of the tree that's established in the UFO? The applicant can hire their own arborist, and
Yes.
it doesn't have to be peer reviewed?
Right now, UFO does not require peer review of arborist reports that are provided by the applicant.
Okay. And then my last question is, so is it the city's position that the demolition permit vested the entitlements? Because it seems to me that there are entitlements which have expired and a building permit which was issued but has now expired. So I'm
The
curious
entitlements
about
have
that.
not expired because a building permit was issued, so that keeps the entitlements in existence in perpetuity.
Well, so that's my question about vesting.
Yes, that is correct.
So, but so this is actually this is a very important, this is a critical issue for me, so I'm trying to understand. So is the way Buzz just explained, is the way Commissioner Cardoza just explained it, is that accurate, that it was, or maybe the city attorney can explain to me the vesting rights of this
Yeah,
project?
yeah.
Well, from what I understand, the building permit has been issued, and I believe some amount of work has been done, so the applicant would maintain that he has a vested right to continue on with the project.
So but the building permit hasn't been acted upon, so the expiration of that building permit doesn't effectively render it.
It's not my understanding that it has expired.
Well, the staff report says it has.
It has been.
Yeah,
It
building
it
permit
has
has
expired.
The building permit has expired?
But they did pull a building permit. Conditions say that it pulled a building permit, you're vested.
That's what the permit says? Well, I'm being advised that by the planning director that the conditions provide that essentially once the building permit is issued, that essentially they've acted upon the conditional use permit. But the fact that it's now expired adds a little twist to it that sitting here I can't necessarily answer your question.
Okay. All right. Because I mean, I had that question as I reviewed these documents, so I did a little research on my own and reviewed what I think is, what is it, AVCO v. Southern California Commission or something, where the three conditions for vesting are a building permit, performing substantial work, and incurring substantial liabilities, and I just didn't see that here, so that
I
was...
brought up the same question to Charlie, and his answer to me was that once the building permit was issued, it guaranteed the rights in perpetuity of the zoning, of the planning approval.
My understanding.
He does have to apply for a new building permit and pay all the fees, but the planning approval stays in place. Is that true, Charlie? I mean,
That's my understanding.
did you have a different reading?
Well, I have a different interpretation, but I mean,
I thought like you did, but Charlie told me no, it goes the other way.
I mean, certainly I think the standards that are set in AVCO, I think, arguably had been met. The twist that I don't know of any case that's, and obviously we'd have to go research it, is when you've had a situation where the building permit is expired.
I have those in office.
So is your concern that if we say that it's okay to remove the tree when he gets a building permit, that we're somehow extending his entitlements by doing that?
Well, not so much that. It's actually that I feel. I mean, I don't see the vested rights of the entitlements here. So when I look at this, I see entitlements that have expired and a building permit that has expired. And so then, we're approving a tree removal permit for something which would still need, which has no entitlements.
I don't know that that's necessarily correct. I mean, I think there is, again, we go back to the situation that you do have somebody who's pulled a building permit, has, expended money in reliance on that. Again, the only, a building permit is a ministerial, issuance of a building permit is a ministerial act, so the fact that it's expired merely means that they need to come back and reapply, and they might have to comply with different codes that might be in effect that change some of the details of the of their plans. But I still think the underlying principles in the AVCO decision have probably already been met. So my inclination is that it probably has vested already, and the fact that the permit expired is probably inconsequential. So I guess the other thing is Charlie's just showing me the actual permit, the condition of approval of the permit language. And let's see. Well, that talks about it expiring if an application for a building permit has not been filed and fees paid. So they've already submitted and complied with that condition, arguably. So the permit has not expired.
So where do we stand now then?
Public hearing?
I mean, is it,
I don't think the permit, I mean, again, I'm not aware of any decisions where you had a permit after somebody has arguably perfected their permit under the standard that's in this AVCO decision that Commissioner Moss has referenced, where then just because the building permit, again, which is a ministerial permit, has expired, that somehow unravels their vested right to proceed. So my view at sitting here is that I believe the permit has been vested.
that they do have,
They have the right to proceed with the building.
okay. The next item on our will be public comment. Oh, excuse me. Does the applicant want to speak first? Made a mistake there.
Oh, is here.
Good evening. My name is Jim Treeman, and I've been helping the applicant get this project through for the last couple of years.
Could
And
you raise the microphone?
There he is.
Thank you.
there, is that better?
Yes.
Do I need to repeat my name? Yep, okay. But we're happy to comply with the staff's recommendations. So that's all I had to say. Unless you have any questions for me.
Public comment? Sorry.
I'm Richard Ambrose, and I live at 1264 64th Street, 1 block from the tree in question. I'm a little confused as to the status of the project. We talked 2 weeks ago, and I got pretty much the same picture other than the viability of his permit. Anyway, I'm also concerned about not only the trees along the curb, but the trees on the property. There's a very large, mature eucalyptus tree and several large, mature fruit trees in the back, and some other landscaping that I find very interesting. And they're good for the environment, they're good for the wildlife, the birds like it, and I don't know what's involved, or what's going to happen to those. Does he have to apply for a permit to demolish or remove those trees on the property itself, on the private property, or can he just bulldoze it? Of course, right after this item, or eventually, we're going to start talking about the working on an urban forest ordinance, and it's going to be taken up again by the City Council in a few weeks. And I'm going to push for inclusion of not only trees that belong to the city on city land, but also on private property. That they are the largest trees in the city tend to be on private land. That's not true for the park, but I would like to see some protection for the large mature trees as well. And we don't have a chance to do that if you act on this motion. At this point, I was hoping it would be postponed for a couple of weeks or months. So yes, exactly. So I don't know what's going to happen to those trees, but I am concerned by them. I actually thought that the issue was not the city trees along the curb, but the large eucalyptus trees on the property itself. Can I get some clarification on that?
City's ordinances do not impact trees on private property.
It
So
doesn't.
our
Well, I'm going to
ordinances-
push for it. That's the thing.
Well, they do not, and so currently the city does have any authority over those trees.
I understand.
And the eucalyptus tree in the front is going to remain.
I'm sorry?
The eucalyptus tree in fronting Ocean Avenue, that's
Yes.
going to remain.
It's
That's
going to
not-
remain?
yes.
Okay, well, I wasn't clear on that. Thank you
The
very much.
plan for this site has already been approved previously by the city council, which includes the landscape plan.
Right.
So whatever the council approved is what would happen, and according to Ms. Desai, that means that one of the eucalyptus trees would remain.
But as with human beings, you can always get a reprieve or a pardon. So, thank you.
Any further public comment? Declare the public meeting closed.
I had a couple of questions. So as far as the replacement trees, is that done, or is that going to be accomplished by the contractor, or is that done by the city? That's one question I have. And the second question is there a time limit or a time frame within which those replacement trees need to be put someplace?
The trees will be replaced by the applicant, and it is the city that will tell him where the trees are going to go and what species and what soil conditions. So the actual work will be done by the applicant and not the city. The conditions do not have a time frame for that. But I do expect that before there is a TCO for the buildings, I would want to see the replacement work of all 5 trees done.
Okay, so then the time limit is before TCO.
Before TCO of the buildings.
And they cannot remove this tree until they get a new building permit, is that correct?
Right. Till the building permit is issued, they cannot get the tree removal permit or the encroachment permit to remove the tree.
Is there a reason that it will be the applicant actually doing the work of replacing the trees rather than Public Works Department staff, or and then the applicant paying for the work in some way?
It's more administratively a little bit more burdensome to have that transaction occur as opposed to issuing a building permit or encroachment permit rather that has conditions. I mean, the planning or building, Public Works Department issues encroachment permits, on a daily basis, so that's really a process that's set up already, and we can dictate the terms under which they're allowed to get into the city street or sidewalks rather, and dictate the terms of the work that needs to be done.
Any other comments? We have a motion to approve.
Vice Chair Cardoza, in reference to the comment made by Commissioner Tan, I would like to recommend that, just for clarification, the condition 1, we add that the replacement trees be installed prior to the TCO of the buildings.
For those who don't know, TCO stands for Temporary Certificate of Occupancy.
The resolution also has a condition that says 4 trees, that should say 5 trees.
Okay, yes.
Oh, whoops. That's a typo.
I would move approval with those changes.
I second that.
We have a vote?
All right. Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Commissioner Moss?
No.
Commissioner Sherman?
Aye.
Commissioner Tan?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Cardoza?
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 no. The motion is approved.
Mr. Ambrose, could you sign in over there, please?